Ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Bag's just deaf enough to do it. It's gonna fall. It's gonna tumble. No, that's good.
Here we go.
Oh, this is gonna be a hard one.
Whoa. That was intense.
Told ya. Whoa.
That was fucking intense, bro.
You can see with your seatbelt fastened and all carry-on bags stowed until the aircraft is parked at the gate and the seatbelt sign has been switched off. The fellas of Dirty Radio.
Here with Dirty Radio.
If you are worried about when, I'll be know who I saw. You ready to go? I went to a showcase for this band with a couple friends of mine, and then I met Zach here. He was there with his cousin. He came up to me and was like, yo, you look like a singer. I'm like, I am a singer. And I had a mohawk back then, bro, like full-on mohawk with like designs on the side, red in the tips. If you're a singer, you gotta have pitch. It's like sing me Pharrell. Sing me Pharrell, because I love Pharrell.
Yeah.
So I sang him, what did I sing?
Jay-Z.
Give it to me. I'm a hustler, baby. I just want you to know. That's what I was saying. And then he's like, let's make some music together.
I want to come over and work on that song.
Yo, I gotta play you this new beat. Actually, I've done like a couple new things, but yeah, I gotta play you some new shit.
No, and then I invited you to my grandma's house.
Yeah. He was staying at his grandma's house. He just moved here from Edmonton. He just broke up with his band.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and I just went to his grandma's house in his room that he had, and we just made music. And it kind of just started from there.
I met Anthony through one of my best friends named Will. We grew up in Edmonton together, and he moved to Victoria, and then he and Anthony became best friends.
So I know Zach from years back, and I first got involved with him musically when he was in a rock band before Dirty Radio.
Originally, when we first started hanging out together, he was actually building websites. So he made a website for my old band, and then we all just became friends. And then when I got to Vancouver, he asked me to work on a movie set that he was working on.
Basically got to hire a bunch of my close friends that were musicians to form this band, and it was actually a Selena Gomez movie, so it was kind of a funny opportunity.
And then he told me that he had Pro Tools, which was amazing because we had just finished doing a project where we spent a lot of money and ended up having some sessions that we needed to like work on in Pro Tools and couldn't access them. And then Anthony's like, come to my place.
Yeah, like 6 months later, he was over in Victoria with me, basically setting these sessions up that he had started with Farshad in Pro Tools, and we were just starting to kind of produce them out and try to make them sound a lot better. And not that long after that, he basically extended the offer, asking if I would want to move to Vancouver and pursue music with him more or less full time. And yeah, pretty much like a few months after, went to Van, and then I moved into his apartment in Kerrisdale at the time, which was basically a basement suite, and that's where I set up a futon and a kind of makeshift studio.
1, 2.
This is a pretty sweet sound.
Let me just
And we started essentially doing remixes together and kind of just starting to really learn more about production and songwriting and slugging through the mud and figuring out like what works and what doesn't. After Zach and I started basically experimenting with, doing a lot of remixes and then kind of developing a lot of the earlier songs that he had started with Shaddy, we were just trying to wrap our heads around like, how do we actually package this now and how do we perform this and get it out there? And our goal at the time was like, okay, well, we'd got some industry advice from people and they were like, okay, well, create a project around him that people can kind of get behind or be interested in. And after we managed to get a song on the radio, it was like, okay, well, how do we perform this? The very first show we played was, it was actually funny enough, it was during the Olympics. They had all these events going on. This was in 2010, and we got an opportunity to play in Yaletown at this outdoor event, and so that first configuration was as live as it gets.
Our studio's in a place called Greenhouse. We've been there for over 6 years, I think now, 7 years, maybe 6 years. And they have a little smoke pit outside. Neither of us smoke, we hang out there. And one time we were all hanging out with a bunch of other artists that were there, other people that had studios. And we're all hanging out with Nitty. Nitty's like, well, you guys kind of make pop music, but it's like music that'll be on the radio, but it's a little dirtier. Dirty radio sounds cool. And everybody's like, hey, dirty radio, okay. All right, that's that. And then we just went from there. That's how it came out. The Nitty named us. Where is Nitty? Shout out Nitty if you ever see this, bro.
So the first Dirty Radio record kind of started as a solo project for Shaddy, even though we all did it together. And we worked with a friend of ours named AJ Bhattacharya on that, and a couple other close friends of ours, including Sherry St. Germain. Sherry. So after we got a bunch of songs on the radio, it was crazy because all these major labels in Canada started hitting us up. But after we met with them, we were kind of bummed out until we met Jonathan Simkin and started our partnership with 604 Records.
It was cool meeting Jonathan because he gave us free reign. He was kind of like, do your music. Didn't really meddle in that part at all. Allowed us to just be free and create the art.
But we didn't want to get pigeonholed as a pop act, so that's when we started experimenting with different genres and sounds and looks and made cassette and lick and a bunch of random singles.